And me pull up this. Got this. Let me get this. All right. And let me remove that. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And we are very familiar with this ayat, and we have revealed the book to thee, explaining all things, and a guidance and a mercy and a good news for those who submit. Now, today's Zoom meeting started out one way, and Allah teaches man by the pen what man knew not. It evolved over the course of the hour that I was typing it up. It evolved into something else. I say that to say, if you have any cognitions, any observations, any corrections, especially your cognitions, please share them so we can benefit from the jewels that Allah is sharing with you. And I pray Allah, this will open up a wealth of knowledge. And who just came in? Sister Deborah is connecting. Okay. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Deborah.
Walaikum salam, sir. Sorry for the tardiness. Just trying to get back into the swing of things.
Not a problem. We're just about to start the PowerPoint. You're right on time.
Excellent. Lovely meeting you and your wife.
Oh yeah, it was wonderful meeting you as well.
That was fun. We have to do that
Now
again.
I have some faces I can put to the names now.
Yes, sir.
We'll have some are half faces because they're still faces with masks on. So, but I recognize a lot of people by their eyes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, as soon as Sister Anya walked up, I said, "There's Sister Anya." I said, "There's Sister Shayla."
I knew Sister Shayla by her voice.
Yeah, we were just talking about that.
Yes.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
Brother Lukman, before we get started, can I read the statement by Mother Tainetta?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Do read.
Mm-hmm. And this is in part of a text message an email that Wahid sent out. And in it, he says, we would like to discuss, well, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, we would like to discuss, Allah willing, how we can use this statement by Mother Tainetta Muhammad to introduce and advance the ideas and concepts as it relates to these 3 lectures by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan: the unraveling of a great nation, the criterion, the announcement to the world, and the swan song. So the statement is by Mother Tainetta: we are standing on the threshold of another phase and cycle of our programmatic teaching from the Master. This new phase will focus on advanced training and re-education that will take us into new fields of knowledge with higher mathematical and scientific truths to be revealed in order that we as students can master our assignment. End quote.
That's interesting. Is there any way to put that quote in the chat?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Praise be to Allah. Because we were just talking about a new cycle of action.
Right.
There's a lot to unpack in that quote.
Mm-hmm. Maybe that could be the focus of make it into one of a topic for another Zoom program.
Oh yes, ma'am. That's why I'm asking you to put it in the chat. That's because I'm looking at going back over those 3 lectures and looking at them from the perspective of using the minister's messages as demo kits or equations. Because when I go back and I look at the minister's words now, they look different to me. And they don't I mean, we already know that they're not just statements, but now when I'm looking at the minister's words, I look at his words like I look at equations.
Yes, sir.
And so there's certain things I'm slowly trying to go back through again all of the time of what must be done lectures from the little bit that I have gone through up to this point, and having like the manuscripts, and I'm trying to timestamp everything so that when I'm looking for specific things, I know exactly where to find it, to find exact quotes. The minister's words are like equations to me now. And I'm noticing that there's certain things he says, but if you look at it from different perspectives, you can apply it in different aspects of life. More so now I'm seeing that than I have before. So based on that quote and those 3 lectures, that would definitely be, I can see in the very near future, Allah willing, the focus of one of our Zoom meetings. Let's see. This started out as just a study of one of the rules found in the original rules of instruction, and it's rule number 5. And then it became or grew into something else. So Allah willing, we can cover this in a short amount of time so that we're not here for, 2.5 hours. We don't want to do that. But this began as just a study of this one little rule. Mistakes shall not exist among the labors of Islam at no time. Then, and I'm going to show you how, it grew into an analysis of this ayat. Holy Quran, Surah 26, ayats number 77 through 82. Let's see who just came on. Area code 804.
Yeah, I'm like,
For the author.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Actually, no, brother. I think Brother Arthur was the first one to walk up to me and say, "Brother Lukman," he recognized the voice.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We're going to focus on this keyword mistake, but we're going to look at the ayats number 77 through 82, and we're going to show how there is a relationship between, yet again, because Allah says in the Holy Quran, He's given us a book explaining all things. Therefore, if it explains all things, it has to include the tech, the science of the mind that's found in Dianetics. We're going to find what we call ARC, affinity, reality, and communication between the Holy Quran, the Supreme Wisdom, and the Dianetic Tech. And then, by God's grace, there is a specific relationship. We're going to connect with one of the lessons from the Supreme Wisdom. So we're going to deal with Holy Quran, Dianetic Tech, and Supreme Wisdom all at the same time. We begin with mistakes. The word mistake led me to this ayat right here. It says, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Surely they are an enemy to me, but not so the Lord of the worlds, who created me. Then He shows me the way, and who gives me to eat and to drink. And when I am sick, He heals me, and who will cause me to die, then give me life, and who I hope will forgive me my mistakes on the day of judgment. And when you look at this ayat, those words you see in red, the first one is enemy to me. So we're going to look at the word enemy. We're going to look at the word sick. We're going to look at the word heal. This mute. If everyone could just mute your phones, I would appreciate it. Okay. The word die, the word life, and then we'll finish up with the word mistake. And we're going to look at this ayat, but we're going to look at each of these words from the perspective of the tech that's found in Dianetics. And the one thing we're going to find is that each one of these words in Arabic actually correspond to terminology that's found in Dianetics. The first thing to do is we're going to look at the word enemy. So it says, surely they are an enemy to me, but not so the Lord of the worlds. Now to add context to this, if you go back a couple of ayats, the word they, surely they are an enemy. That word they was making reference to individuals. I believe in that ayat is talking about from the perspective of the ancestors and what the ancestors were following. Okay, so they represent individuals from one's family. We could take that if we were to go back a little bit further, but we won't do that today, and make that correspond to valence and dramatizations. Because really, when it says when Allah says the Holy Quran, it shows us where individuals follow things based on what their families, it says based on what my fathers followed before me. We've seen that before. Yes. It says we did that which we found our fathers doing. Okay. So if you look at that externally, okay, what my fathers did before me, if we were to take that same context and put it internally, when we dramatize, are we not following that which our family before did? Because we're dramatizing their behavior, correct? Does anyone follow? Did I lose anyone?
Sure, and I'm saying yes, Brother Lukman. I'm on mute.
Okay. So this enemy, we're gonna start by connecting this enemy to the tech of Dianetics. So now, when you look at the Arabic, this is from the website called Quranic Corpus, and it gives you a breakdown of every word in the Holy Quran. Okay, the word enemy is Aiduun. Okay, if you see it right here. That's the Arabic word for enemy. So that's our starting point. So we do a cycle of action. That's our start. Then we actually take this word, we go to the root word, and we go into the Arabic dictionary. And that word means to engage in aggressive, hostile action. Now, the root word is ayada. How does this word connect with Dianetic Tech? Because if you go lower on the tone scale, you go 2.0, 1.5, you have hostility, don't you? Overt and covert hostility. Okay, so when we're dealing with an enemy, again, we're taking this and we're looking at this allegorical statement, and we're looking at it internally. So we're looking at, surely they are an enemy to me. So they're talking about an enemy that's within. One word is hostile action. This represents dramatization, correct? Could we say that?
We could, yes.
It means to pass over, and it also means to bypass. Bypass is a key word here. It means to treat as an enemy. What happens when we're dramatizing a valence? with regards to individuals that might be in our environment? How do we behave? Do we treat them as an enemy?
Mhm. Yep.
No, not really.
Mhm.
I'm just
We
saying
don't know.
on certain levels, there's certain characteristics that when, okay, let me say it like this. Have we ever gotten angry to the point where we took it out on someone else, but
Lots of time.
that wasn't the person who was really the source of our anger?
Yes.
Okay, so
Mhm.
so then did we not treat them as an enemy?
Yes.
Okay.
Because they didn't do it, but we're treating them like they did.
Okay, so if we're treating them as an enemy, that's showing us that that was a dramatization, correct?
Yes.
Mhm. Yes.
Okay.
So the one thing we could do is be aware, this is why we're told rise above emotion into the mind and thinking of God. When we become aware that we're about to snap at someone,
Mhm.
that should give us a clue that a dramatization is coming.
Mhm.
Correct.
Yep. Yes. Mhm.
Now, here's an interesting thing. The word ayada means to bypass, and we're dealing with aggressive and hostile action, correct?
Mhm.
Yes.
Now,
Okay.
when you go into these words actually describe characteristics of the reactive mind. Specifically, the word bypass. L. Ron Hubbard says on page 66, and I found it interesting that it was 66. Now, what's the significance of 66?
Number man.
Huh?
Number of beast.
Well, not only that, but what happened 66 trillion years ago?
Oh, okay. Mhm.
Isn't that deportation of moon?
History.
Importation of the moon,
Mhm.
right?
Okay.
Yes.
So
Mhm.
L. Ron Hubbard says on page 66, if one were looking for something like demons in the human mind, such as those one observes in some inmates of madhouses, he could find them easily enough. Only they are not demons, they are bypass circuits from the engram bank.
Mm.
So earlier on one part of the Dianetics, he's talking about demon circuits, but these are also called bypass circuits, correct?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. And the bypass circuit, or the word bypass, is the same word that means enemy in the Holy Quran. So here we have an ayat that's giving us an Arabic word that gives us the synonym bypass. L. Ron Hubbard uses the word bypass in Dianetics to describe these demon circuits. And the way in which L. Ron Hubbard describes this in Dianetics is equivalent to what's given to us in the Holy Quran. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So the enemy in the Holy Quran is equivalent with the bypass demon circuit. So that's our first marriage. This would imply that everywhere that we find the word enemy in the Holy Quran, we can obtain more data about the demon circuit. And that will be a topic for a later Zoom meeting as well. We'll see specifically how many places in the Holy Quran can we find ayats that actually give us more data with regards to understanding what a demon circuit is. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes. Yes.
So the next word in the ayat was the word sickness. If we look at the word sickness in Arabic, the word is marid, marid. And the word marid means to be ill or to be sick. The word nafsi marida means psychopath. So now when you look at the word nafsi, nafsi means heart, mind, or spirit. Marid is talking about illness. So really, we already know a psychopath is an individual that has an illness in the spirit or the mind, correct? Okay. And the one thing that L. Ron Hubbard states is that when a person is a psychopath, they're stuck in the past, and a person that is neurotic is stuck in the present. Someone who's clear or have the aspects of their analytical mind are going towards the future. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Brother Lukeman, would you say that again? A person who is stuck in the past is considered.
The way L. Ron Hubbard described it, when a person is stuck in the in the past, that is a psychopath. Okay, a psychopathic person is someone who's stuck in the past. Someone who's stuck in the present, that individual is he called neurotic. And when a person is on the pathway to clear, or they have the analytical mind, or they have their faculties, they are pointing towards the future.
Okay, yes, sir.
Also in that ayat, we came across the word healing. It says, and when I am sick, he heals me. So when we look at the Arabic word for heal, it's shifin. And the root word is shifa or shafa. It means to restore to health. Other definitions: to vent one's anger. Now, we dealt with venting before, correct? Remember we talked about burning buildings? And when a building is burning, one of the ways that we try to save the individuals that are in that building is we vent it. And when we vent it, we're releasing the heat, we're releasing the smoke, so that the environment becomes more hospitable and the visibility begins to increase. So the same thing happens when an individual is venting. When a person is venting, what are they doing?
They're releasing their anger, or you would say that they're letting off steam, letting off the pressure.
And what's happening to their vision now? They're able to see better because now they can see the time track. They can see what's going on. So a burning building, and when we vent a burning building, that's a demo kit for what auditing really is. An auditor really is a mental firefighter into a burning mind in order to release the pressure, the emotion, and increase the visibility or the vision of that pre-clear. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So when we look at, and when I'm sick, he heals me, healing is connected to venting one's anger. So when we can remove the anger, what are we doing when we're auditing? We might find a person in apathy. Begin at the beginning, and go over it. So we go over the event that took place in their life. Now, as we go over it, go back to the beginning, go over it again, pick up whatever additional data you can contact. What do? Now we can bring them up from apathy to anger, correct?
Right. Yes, sir.
And then we go back to the beginning, go over it again. What happens? They're venting more information. They're venting more. As the individual vents, what direction are they going on the tone scale?
We're going higher on the tone scale because we're getting ready to anger. The next scale will be getting ready to anger and they will eventually go up the tone scale.
Exactly. So as the pre-clear is venting, going over the event over and over again and releasing the stored up, the charge. The charge is to the mind of the pre-clear like the fire is to a building. The pre-clear and the auditor are the pre-clear. Brother Salam, you can't hear me? Brother Salam, can you hear me? Brother Salam can't hear. I hope he figures it out. Okay. But the charge, is it your computer?
It should be his computer because we can hear you.
Yeah. I think he's connected to audio now. Or it might be a connection. Okay. Okay, so we'll keep going. So the charge to the pre-clear is like the fire is to the building. The pre-clear and the auditor are the engine company that's going into the burning building or the aberrated mind, and the goal is to put that fire out, which is the aberration. Does that make sense? Okay. Let me see if I can get a message to him real quick. Come on, phone. Your audio. Not connecting. Now I'm being a DJ again. Okay, hopefully that worked. Can you hear us now, Brother Salam? Okay, praise due to Allah. Okay, so the healing is connected, the healing and the restoration of our mental health is connected to the venting of our anger, which is equivalent to the process that we go through when we're auditing. Really, when we're auditing, we're letting off steam, correct?
Yes.
Yes. We're reducing the charge. And as we reduce the charge and our tone goes up, what happens to our vision? Our vision gets
becomes clear.
It becomes clear. Exactly. Okay. But now watch this. The word shafa, which means to heal, guess what else it means? It means to clear. Okay. So the word shafa in Arabic, which is healing, as you can see on the insert there from the Arabic dictionary, the word shafa also means clear. So when the minister says, and I'm paraphrasing, no one can be a laborer unless they become clear. If we look at that from an Arabic perspective, we're saying an individual must be healed, must be relieved of their emotional trauma. Does that make sense? I don't think it's a coincidence that these Arabic words are synonymous with terms that are found in Dianetics.
No.
I'm a firm believer. L. Ron Hubbard had a meeting. He made a connection, and he couldn't have studied all the religions from the East and not pick up a Holy Quran. I don't believe that's the case, but that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. In that same ayat, it talks about causing to die. Who will cause me to die, then give me life? This is what the Arabic looks like. The root word of the word for will cause me to die is mat, M-A-U-T. That which is lifeless or inanimate. Now, how would we describe that in Dianetic language? To be lifeless or inanimate? What tone is that?
Zero.
Hmm?
One
Say again?
tone level. You said one.
Which would be what?
Apathy.
Apathy and what else?
Death.
Apathy, death, and one more. What's right above death? Actually, I think it might be right above apathy. Or it's in that vicinity. What is the weapon, the minister says, that Allah will use during the judgment?
Grief.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Grief.
Okay. So we have grief, we have
Grief.
apathy, and we have death. Okay. And all those describe that which is lifeless or inanimate, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And our lessons say that resurrection from a mental death is possible. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So to be resurrected from a mental death, would that not be synonymous with advancing a pre-clear up the tone scale from death, grief, and apathy up to the higher levels of the tone scale? Wouldn't that be mental death?
Yeah.
Okay. So mental death is the same as aberration, correct?
Right. Yes, sir.
Yes.
The word ma also means desperate. And it also means to suppress. Isn't that interesting?
Interesting.
Mm.
That's what I say. Very interesting.
Now I'm finding a lot of Dianetic terms in the Arabic dictionary. So when we're being suppressed, we're oppressed. Wouldn't that be the same as being invalidated?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Isn't that enforced ARC and inhibited ARC?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we have enforced ARC, inhibited ARC, we have suppressors. All of these terms are synonymous with the word die in Arabic.
Mm. Wow.
But now let's look at the word giving us life. Let me see here, there's something in the chat. If you look at the word life, oh, if you could mute your phone, please. All right. The word life is hay in Arabic. It means to live. It means to enliven. It means to endow with life. Now, as we describe this word, what part of the tone scale are we describing? Anyone?
That's endowed with life. That's tone 40.
We could say tone 40 or really anything above tone 4. Tone 4 to tone 40, we could say is endowed with life. Okay. It means to put on or produce. And then when I saw this definition for the word, I thought of to put on or to put in the new man that the minister had said. Okay. Brother Arthur, if you could please just mute your phone.
I have it all well.
Okay. Oh, I didn't want, okay. I didn't want you to drop off, brother. Hopefully you can come back on. Now, mistakes. This is really, it all started on just this one rule from the original rules of instruction. Mistakes shall not exist at no time. Mistakes among the laborers shall not exist at no time. That's where it all began with. Now we look at the word mistake. I use this ayat to find the word in Arabic so that we could clear it. And this is what the word is in Arabic. It's katafa. Katafa. Okay. Or kata, excuse me. Khata. The word in Arabic, khata, means to be in error. It means mistake, it means fault, it means blunders. Where do we see this term used in Dianetics? You're on mute, Sister Shayla. In Dianetics, he uses the concept of the held down seven, correct?
Yes.
Yes, he talks about the held down seven. And he says that the mind is incapable of making mistakes. He says the mind is a perfect computer, but it makes decisions based on incorrect data.
Correct.
Okay.
Seven equals seven equals. Okay. Yes. Yes.
Yep. So the mind works perfectly, but our mind is working perfectly on incorrect data. So when you look at the educational system of this world, our mind is operating on faulty data. And that's why the educational system of this world, we're told, has to go. The minister said that whoever controls the diameter of your thinking, I think, or the diameter of your knowledge, controls the circumference of your activity, correct?
Yes, sir.
And when you look at the educational system of this world, it's based on lies, half-truths, untruths, and no truths. Does that make sense?
You are correct.
And our mind, we're told that our mind was designed to think based on truth.
Yes.
Okay, so this educational system really incarcerates our thinking. Part of our aberration is based on the knowledge that we obtain through this educational system. Our mind is designed to think forth based on universe, mathematics, physics, chemistry. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that we come from a high civilization, correct?
Yes, sir.
Correct.
So if we come from a high civilization, our mind is designed to think on high mathematical, scientific concepts. The educational system of this world, I looked at it as fast food for the brain. It's processed food. This system's educational system is like McDonald's for the brain. Okay, it's interesting flavor, but no, a lot of calories and no vitamins and minerals. In other words.
Very true.
L. Ron Hubbard says it like this. He says, occlusion demons hide things from I. And remember, the I is the self, the thetan. It is as easy for one to make mask many words. The individual having one will then omit these words or alter them or misspell them and make mistakes with them. So when we are making mistakes, L. Ron Hubbard is saying that there's a demon there. And we're not talking about individual with, as Dr. Khalid would say, with some red pantyhose and a pitchfork. When we make mistakes, there's a demon within our own mind. And our lesson tells us, well, what is devil? And it says a devil is a grafted man, which is made weak or wicked, correct? So we have a grafted knowledge. We have something in our mind that has been made weak. And what makes our mind weak are untruths, incorrect data, incorrect facts, or missing data. So we're making decisions based on faulty or absent information. Has anyone ever made a judgment on the behavior of another person and then found out that that judgment was wrong?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And it was based on an assumption that we made based on what? Faulty information. Okay, Sister Shayla, you had your hand up there for a split second.
No, you did explain it. I wanted you to go into explaining what an occlusion was for the whole
Okay.
group.
Okay. When you look at an occlusion is a fancy word for a blockage. Okay, a blockage. So if when an individual is washing dishes, and my father was adamant. This was like gospel. You had to scrape the plate off in the garbage before you put the dishes in the sink. And if you did otherwise, you caught the wrath. Because what happens is the sink will, over time, get stuffed up with gunk, correct? Okay.
Yes.
The same thing happens with our mind. If we're constantly feeding ourselves crazy information, eventually we get mentally constipated. That's an occlusion. That's a blockage. Okay. If we're studying a concept, and the one thing L. Ron Hubbard says is that when we hit that ridge, see, a ridge and an occlusion is the same thing. When you hit a ridge represents a difficulty. So the ridge in Dianetics is the difficulty factor in the self-improvement study guides. And the minister says a difficulty factor is a part of anything that we do. But we have to work past the difficulty factor. Allah says in the Holy Quran, do men think they'll be left alone on saying they believe and will not be tried? I'm quite sure if we would take that word tried and clear it and look at the Arabic, I believe the word tried will probably be synonymous in some way, shape, form, or fashion to a blockage, a difficulty, or a ridge. I'm going to write that down, and that's going to be my assignment. I believe that to be the case. Because if everything were to be easy, then we wouldn't really learn too much because things would be just too easy, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. iPhone. Sister Ania, hands up.
Yes, sir. I have a question in regard to occlusion demons hide things from I, and then it goes on to say that it will cause people to admit words, alter them, and misspell them, and make mistakes. Does it have anything to do with us being lazy in terms of not wanting to even take the time to look up the correct spelling of the word, or find out, or if correct the mistakes, or not even try, as you use the word try there? We won't even make an effort to improve upon the situation. Does that have anything to do with it?
I almost want to say, Sister Ania, when you look at the prayer, I seek thy refuge from anxiety and from grief. I seek thy refuge from cowardice and niggardliness. I seek thy refuge from laziness and lack of strength. I seek thy refuge from being overpowered by debt and the oppression of men. I almost want to say that each one of those things that's described in that prayer is connected to aberration. Therefore, I would almost want to say laziness is a form of aberration. Because, okay, let's picture, let's go back on a time track to a time when we were lazy. Can you go back to that point on the time track?
Never.
Yesterday.
Okay. Now go back to that moment. Go back to that moment where we were engaged in what we would say as being lazy, and see if you can contact the thought that was there. which would be our reasoning, our deceptive intelligence, or our service facsimile for being lazy. Now, I'm not, sometimes we're just sometimes we're just being tired. I can understand that, but sometimes we're just lazy. Sometimes we just don't feel like being bothered. What I'm saying is, if we can contact that moment, can we contact the thought that was present that caused us to be lazy? Shayla, you got your hand up?
Yes, forgive the fire alarm. It's not a fire. It's dust. They sound in the floor. What was my thought? There's a lot going on in my background. You know how I don't think laziness is something that is. I know laziness is not natural to us. That we develop laziness to throw off the slave during slavery. We have to come up with survival mechanism. That's what I think about laziness.
Mhm.
When I think about why people are lazy, like we go to do jobs that we don't want to do, so we become bored and all of that stuff. But my question was,
Mhm.
would you explain to us A equals A? How does that work? I get it, but I just want to make sure that we all understand it because this is so important.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Here's how it works. If you have an engram, that engram has certain perceptics in it. The example that's given in the video that they showed at the org is the woman was being traumatized by the husband. At the same time, there was a dog barking, there was a motorcycle driving by, and the sink was dripping. So those are all the perceptics that were recorded after she had been basically assaulted by her husband. She's on the floor. So now her analytical mind has shut off and the reactive mind has turned on, and it recorded those perceptics. Now, anytime she hears dripping water is the same as being assaulted. The dog barking is the same as being assaulted. The motorcycle driving by is the same as being assaulted, because the way the reactive mind works is all those perceptics in the reactive mind are all equal to one another. And it's designed that way. So there might have been, have you ever experienced you walk into a room, you don't quite know why, but there's something in that room that makes you feel uneasy? Okay, there might be a perceptic that's there that's re-stimulating something, but you would not know what that is because that was actually recorded at a moment of unconsciousness. You just know that there's something there, but I'm not feeling this. Okay. At another point, I'm working on another Zoom meeting. There's a verse in the Holy Quran where Allah says, "And I made slumber overtake you as a protection." Have you ever seen that ayat?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When I did word clearing on that ayat, I made slumber to overtake you as a protection. It brought me to the understanding that the reactive mind, because the reactive mind, the word slumber in Arabic also means unconsciousness. It led me down a path to look at the reactive mind as a means of protection from us. And then when I went into the Dianetics and the way L. Ron Hubbard explained it, that the reactive mind really protects us, because if we get into an event that's too strong or too powerful, it might overcome us. Some people commit suicide because things are too strong, correct?
Yes, sir.
So when the mind, when
Correct.
the analytical mind clicks off and the reactive mind clicks on, it's almost like protecting us from something that's so overwhelming that if we did not have that mechanism, it might drive us crazy. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay.
That makes sense.
So at another time when I can, inshallah, if I can, when I finish that one, based on that ayat, and slumber overtakes you as a protection, it made me see the reactive mind from a positive perspective, that it does protect us in one sense, but it does cause problems from another sense. But then when you look at that reactive mind protects us, and then at another time, Allah will give us what we need to remove the content from that reactive mind. Those that abide by following what the minister has given us will have that content removed, so that when certain circumstances take place that will cause a restimulation on a global level, a restimulation on a national level, or a restimulation on a large level, which will cause people to be aberrated on a large scale. Does that make sense?
That's what's happening now.
We will have the technology not only to save ourselves by the grace of Allah, but we'll also be able to save those that are friends and family that will at least accept that what the minister gave us to get us through this fire that's coming, or the fire that's already here. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Sister Shayla?
Makes sense to a degree, but
Okay.
what you said makes sense, that the reactive mind, we need the reactive mind to survive, because in that moment, reactive mind takes over.
Mhm.
It's a survival mechanism. It helps us to get through the event or the trauma or whatever is happening. For later on, we can deal with it. So it makes sense. It's like a shut off to protect the God mind.
Mm-hmm. And I'll give you an example of what came to my mind as you were talking, Sister Shayla. Remember that movie Seven with Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt?
I remember that I have to go watch it again, because I know that that one little eyelid is starting to open. I'll go watch it again.
Okay. At the end of the movie, I don't want to really spoil it for you, but something took place and Brad Pitt snapped. Okay. And those that have seen the movie, you'll understand what I'm talking about. His reactive mind was turned on with full force, and his reactive mind totally took over him based on what had happened. If you go back and watch the movie, you'll understand that is a perfect demo kit. That's a perfect demo kit for the reactive mind. Okay. But did I answer the occlusion? Did I answer that question, Sister Shayla, about the occlusions, the blockages?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Sharon.
Alaikum salam. Happy Savior's Day.
David's Day. How are
Happy
you,
Savior's Day,
family?
everyone.
Happy Savior's Day to you.
Happy Savior's Day.
All right. Now, as I was going through Dianetics, I came across something else that just, now we're about to go in not another direction, but we're going to go a little bit deeper. Here's a quote from page 310. He says, if you were to draw a picture of the prenatal area of the reactive engram, hey, Brother Eric, of the reactive engram bank, it would appear somewhat as follows. A long line drawn horizontally representing time would have dark blots on it representing engrams. One end of the line would represent conception, the other end birth. Above this line would lie a dark area, like a heavy mist, extending from one end of the line to the other and dropping down almost to it. Above this dark mist would lie another horizontal line, the apparent time track along which the patient returns. The first long line is the actual time track. The mist is painful emotion. The uppermost dark line is what the patient mistakes and uses for his time track. So here he's describing, he's using a demo kit. So if you were to take a pen or a pencil and actually draw out what he's saying, he's illustrating a demo kit. But did you see something in this paragraph that sounds familiar?
Yes.
Go ahead, Brother Salam.
Yeah. What make rain, hail, snow, and earthquake?
Yes, sir,
given-
brother. Go ahead.
That's given to us by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, where it described different layers of atmosphere, different waters. That's what I pick up from here.
Mhm. So when he talks about a heavy mist. Maybe it's just a coincidence.
No, it ain't no coincidence.
I know, brother. I know. I'm just saying it. So he's using the concept of a heavy mist, but then he says the mist is painful emotion. So now when you look at Lost Found Muslim lesson number 2, question number 8, what makes rain, hail, snow, and earthquake? If we look at that as an equation, okay, or as the minister would say, a formula. When you say the mist is painful emotion, in mathematics, you're given another value to the variable that's in that equation. So now if we look at question number 8, and we look at the different layers of the atmosphere, but if we look at the mist as painful emotion, then Lost Found Muslim lesson number 2, question number 8 becomes a demo kit for the analytical and the aberrated mind. We're gonna touch on it. We're not gonna go in depth, but we're just gonna touch on it to show how this quote from Dianetics, where L. Ron Hubbard talks about a heavy mist, and our lesson talks about a heavy mist, and how we can take that same lesson now and go deeper into our understanding of the tech and go into a deeper understanding of ourselves. Does that make sense?
Yes. I have something I want to share.
Go ahead, brother.
As you talking about this, other day coming back from Chicago in the plane, we over the clouds and the clouds looked so peaceful. But when we went through the clouds, we went through a little turbulence. So that's what this reminds me of. You know, even though the cloud looked peaceful, in order to go through it back to the earth, we have to go through some turbulence. So dealing with the emotional pain, that's similar to what we went through going through the clouds.
Yes, sir.
Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. Because really, now as you're talking, here's another demo kit. When you look at the planet Venus, okay, now Venus represents who? What does Venus represent when you study the history of Venus? Come on, scientists. When you deal with the history of Venus, the original Venus represents the Black woman. Does that make sense? Y'all with me?
Yes, sir.
Now, when you study Venus, the reason why they call Venus Venus is because out of all the planets, it was said that Venus was the most beautiful. Okay. But now Venus, when you study the planet from the perspective of astronomy, Venus is described as greenhouse effect that has gone way overboard. Okay. Now, what does the greenhouse effect cause on the planet? What happens?
It's the greenhouse, from what I can remember, is that where the ozone layer wears away?
You're dealing with the right part of the atmosphere, but it's not where it wears away. It's where so much heat builds up that it gets trapped.
Okay.
Okay. So the greenhouse effect is you have a buildup of heat, and that heat is trapped. Okay. And what astronomers say is that on Venus, you have the cloud covering. Venus is the most beautiful of the planets, but they say that under the surface of that cloud covering is a veritable hell. And they say that, if I'm not mistaken, that it rains sulfuric acid. So here you have a beautiful planet on the outside, but you have trapped heat and hell on the inside, correct? Well, doesn't that describe the Black woman?
Yes, sir.
I mean, it describes a Black man too, but we're looking at it from the perspective of Venus as a demo kit to represent the Black woman. Beautiful on the outside, but there's a covering there, and there's a lot of charge that's trapped under the surface. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We're going to look briefly at what L. Ron Hubbard says here and make a connection with our lessons. Sister Ania.
Yes, sir. I thought of this passage here, and also in connection with what you just explained, as the heavy mist being that part where is the painful emotion, and as brother is said, above that mist is, if you go up in the atmospheric levels, you have the mist that goes up and it forms into the clouds, but above that it's clear. It's all clear blue sky. It's always sunny up there above the clouds.
Mm-hmm.
So when you mentioned earlier that the reactive mind is there's benefit in the reactive mind. It serves a purpose as a type of protection for us.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought about that whole process of the impure water being drawn up into that fine mist, and then it gets to the cloud level, forms into the clouds where it's purified. So I thought about that painful emotion, how we have, and that also it's a continuous process. We have days of sunshine, but that sunshine is drawing up the water from the earth, the impure water, the painful emotion is being drawn up and recycled into the cloud. So, and this continues over and over on the planet to purify the water. So this whole process of Dianetics, of being audited, is like a continuous process, an ongoing process, that every time we experience painful emotion, then Allah has perfected or compensated for that painful emotion by giving us a method in which to release that charge and bring us back to a pure sunny state. So we can, that, as it said here, it's a heavy mist dealing with all of, and he said the dark spots on that time track. So it's clearing all of that out, and we become clear again. And I know part of the tech, L. Ron Hubbard says that there's no such thing as a state of like perpetual clear. I'm paraphrasing.
Mhm.
And it's because we're always going to be experiencing some type of painful emotion that always has to be dealt with.
Mhm.
And so as long as we submit ourselves to the Dianetic process, or, you know, or some type of auditing in some type of fashion to relieve ourselves of that, then it doesn't build up and continue to fester in us
Mhm.
as those engrams that now become re-stimulated and start causing us problems. And we're able to live a relatively, I wouldn't say normal life, but, you know, a life free and clear, in that we don't allow ourselves to get built up so much with these painful emotions.
Mhm. Yes, ma'am.
And then what you said about the greenhouse effect and the heat being trapped, that plays into it again, is another way that that buildup of the painful engrams now turn into trapped heat, and we fly off the handle more often.
Mhm.
You know, that it builds up into that fire that causes, is not a healthy fire, because there's, like you said, there's different types of fire.
Mhm.
And so you've got healthy fire, but then you've got that which causes great problems.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
yes, sir.
Brother Lukman,
Yes, Brother Salam.
when you had that experience of that prenatal auditing,
Mhm.
is there any similarity in what we're talking about now that you can remember?
Um,
About the
similarity,
myth
similar, uh, s- similarity with the mist.
or anything relating to what you're talking about now when you had that prenatal experience doing auditing?
It released a great. I'll say it like this. We were talking about venting, where you vent a building that's on fire to release the trapped gases, to release the smoke.
Yeah.
There was something about that prenatal experience, because I remember, out of all the times I was audited, I think that was the one where I released the most charge,
Okay.
which would be similar to vented the most emotion.
Okay.
That was one of the major auditings that I had, was when you took me back to that prenatal. And I don't even know why. I don't even know why it was such a life-changing experience. But to go back through that, to see the face of the doctor, to hear what she said to me, and then knowing the background story as to what the doctor had tried to do to me before I was born. Maybe all that collectively came together, and that's what allowed me to release so much charge.
You know, as I look at this,
Mhm.
L. Ron Hubbard wasn't no joke, brother. He was going deep and
Mhm.
dealing with the psychic. Excuse me.
Okay.
He was going deep in dealing with the psyche of the human being.
Mhm.
And basically, when I looked at this, he basically was dealing with his people, Caucasian people.
Mhm.
We didn't get this until just 10, 12, 10, 11 years ago.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
this is some serious stuff we're dealing with.
Mhm. Yes, sir.
You know?
I'm a firm believer, and this is just my opinion, but my opinion is based on these two facts. Number one, we've been taught that the Savior came to show mercy to both people. That's why he was of both people, black and white, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's a fact. Fact number two, Allah says in the Holy Quran that he raises messengers up amongst a people speaking their own language, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so again, this is just my opinion. That tells me that the Savior raised up a warner and a messenger for the original Black man in the wilderness of North America, and he raised up a messenger and a warner for Caucasian people. That's just my opinion.
I agree to that.
Based on what his job was, and based on what Allah says in the Holy Quran, I believe that the Savior raised up both men, and that at a certain time, those two paths would come back together. I'm a firm believer of that.
I'm a firm believer of that too.
And then when you look at the minister saying in Savior's Day 2011, where he says that I found this 35 years ago, talking about the tech of Dianetics, and how, if I'm not mistaken, 2011 was the first year that the Church of Scientology had a major role at the Savior's Day convention. Okay, I found something 35 years ago tells me that we make them study 35 to 50 years before they can come amongst us. I just see, I'm looking at the numbers and the connections.
Yes.
But L. Ron Hubbard studied the ancient wisdom of the East. He studied Buddhism, he studied the Bhagavad Gita, he studied what's called the Upanishads, and I believe he studied the Holy Quran. And when you look at the book called The Creation of Human Ability, he gives credit as the source of all this wisdom. He uses the word the Asiatics. And we know who is the original man, the Asiatic Black man. Okay, so, and then he gives credit to 50,000 years of history. So he's bearing witness really to everything that we've been taught. Okay. And that's why I have a great deal of respect for him and his teachings, because it's right in lockstep and in sync with what we have received of the teachings.
In your quote, Brother Lukman, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh, go ahead, brother.
He also mentioned in that same quote that you just recited, I have found the door and I'm leaving it for you. And what was that door? Remember that our lessons were confiscated after when they arrested the Muslim Elijah Muhammad.
Go ahead, brother.
And L. Ron Hubbard, was one of those scientists who was assigned to study what was Muhammad saying, mostly when he talked about a cracked atom. And when he started studying the lessons, he discovered things that he did not want the military to have. And he decided to leave the military. They put pressure on him. He ran to New York and they still get access to him. And at that point, he left and go to England. And from there, they were still bugging him. That's why you find the first org that he ever built was on the sea. And that's where the word Sea Org started, because the teaching that he was giving the people was on the sea. And you well quoted the lesson of why does Muhammad make the devil study 35 to 50 years. Yes, Master Farad Muhammad is a product of the two race, black and white, but he is a member of the original man. Why? Because he's the seed that planted him, that was planted, was from an original man.
Yes, sir.
So now, when you look at why did you have them to study? So that they can clean themselves up. The question is, who was the Muhammad to make them study 35 to 50 years? And the lesson says, no matter how long they study, you still don't love the devil. Okay, all of that are given to us for a reason. When we think we're talking about the past, but remember the lesson says past, future, present, perfect tense. So everything that you think you're talking about history, no, history is right now. Everything that you see. So I don't have to go any further with that, because I leave it up to y'all to rekindle.
So you just come in and dropping some seeds.
Oh man, I'm sorry that I did not even know that you sent me a email because I don't go to my email that early.
Oh, that's okay. I'm gonna post this on the YouTube channel today, inshallah.
All right.
All right, let's go ahead and see if we can land this plane. So here in the quote, page 310, we have the term heavy mist, and we have the mist is painful emotion. So we're gonna look at Lost Found Muslim lesson number 2, question number 8, but we're gonna look at it as an equation, and we're gonna input the word painful emotion into the concept of the mist that's mentioned in the lesson itself. So the 2 key points here, he says, representing engrams, one end of the line would represent conception, the other end birth. Above this line would lie a dark area like a heavy mist, and the mist is painful emotion. So we're gonna look at the lesson as an equation or a formula. The lesson says this, but as this mist ascends higher and increasing with other mists of water in different currents of atmosphere until when she becomes heavier than gravitation. Now we're familiar with that, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So could question number 8 be used as a demo kit or a formula representing the concept of aberration? That's what we're going to look at in our conclusion. So when you look at the concept of currents of air, okay, it says there are some layers or currents of air real cold and warm, and some very swift and changeable. Okay. The word current, if we clear that term, one meaning of the word current means a prevailing mood or a flow. So the word current, we could use that to understand a certain level of thinking. Could we use that as to represent thinking?
Yes.
Okay. The current thinking, the current thinking of the people. Okay. We're talking about flow. So here he says, the word cold, by definition, is marked by lack of warmth of normal human emotion, friendliness, or compassion. So when we're talking about coldness, based on that definition, what is it describing from the concept of Dianetics? What emotions is it representing?
The cold air.
Well, no, it's the cold air, but what is it describing from the perspective of Dianetics? When you deal with lack of warmth of human emotion, unfriendly, no compassion.
Anger.
Yes.
Anger.
Anger.
Could be, depression. It could be,
An aberrated mind.
yes.
Aberrated mind. So all that what we're talking about, to be cold represents an aberrated mind. So
Yes.
when you look at, if you look at, like, okay, we just had the snowstorm, okay. What's the highest, based on that lesson, what's the highest that the water's drawn up?
6 miles.
6 miles, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we look at from the ground up to 6 miles, and then from 6 miles and above, how would that compare to the tone scale?
That's exactly where I was going. Go ahead.
6 miles, doesn't that represent the borderline between the upper tone scale and the lower tone scale?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So 6 miles and below would represent the aberration or the engrams, correct?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Above that level would represent the use of the analytical mind, correct?
Okay.
Since you are there, brother Lukman, let me go with this.
Let me finish this
go
one.
ahead.
Let me finish this
Okay.
one point, brother. So if we're above that, if we're above gravity, because remember the word gravity means, by one definition, the word gravity means a serious problem. So that 6 mile high from a Dianetic standpoint could represent the borderline between the high tones and the low tones. From the perspective of self-improvement, that's the rise above emotion, where up into the mind and thinking of God, where what? There's no clouds up there, correct?
That's right.
And then when you get to the uppermost level of the tone, you get the tone 40. Compare that to the atmosphere. What's 40 miles high?
The mother plane.
That's that. So that mother plane 40 miles high is out beyond the pull of gravity, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when you look at this lesson and it talks about it can't get out of the Earth's rotation. Okay. The Earth's rotation, the water goes up, it comes back down. It goes up, it comes back down, correct?
Yes, sir.
So we go through our trials and our tribulations. Sometimes we get to a point where we're at peace, correct?
Come on.
But then don't we descend back through trials and tribulation again?
Yes.
That's right.
And then we have to try to do the process all over. So we're constantly going above and below, above and below. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
That's what our whole life is. In Dianetics, L. Ron Hubbard calls it what? The ups and downs. So the atmosphere becomes a demo kit for the tone scale. And as I was just thinking, I remember one of the last parts of the third matrix, where Neo and Trinity, they're trying to get above the clouds. They break the clouds and Trinity looks and she sees the sun. She goes, she said, oh my God, so beautiful. She had never seen the sun before. Remember that part of Matrix?
Yes.
What were you saying, Sister Sharon?
She was so used to always being in darkness, not able to see, you know, what's above.
Uh-huh.
So seeing that, what I will call a sweet spot, the consciousness, the eye.
Mhm.
So, yes, sir.
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And see, now I got to go back and watch the movies again and look at the Matrix as it represents the reactive mind now. That's now I see the Matrix as the reactive mind, but that's just me. Go ahead, brother Eric. Drop that.
No, I'm not dropping anything. I'm just following up with what you say, because you already dropped it. The whole thing that we are studying, regardless whether in religion or in the science of Dianetics or Scientology or whatever, it is dealing really with the human emotion.
Mhm.
And that human emotion is, you can find that in the tone scale, as we said. But in scripture, there is a point they say, the door of heaven is well guarded. By whom? By what? How is it guarded? Because if you look at it, we have known the word heaven based on what religion has given us, which really has nothing to do with heaven. The heaven that we're looking for is, you can only find it when you can ascend from the tone scale. And the lowest you can go on the tone scale is -40. And the highest you can go is 40.0. And you say about the 40 miles high, isn't it? Is that accidental or is it coincidental?
Mm-hmm.
So now that 40-mile highs we're talking about, in the tone scale, you call that what? When you go up the tone scale.
Ascending. Ascending?
No, when you're on the tone scale, 40.0, what is it?
Clear.
Up there around serenity.
That's the point.
The eye, yeah.
And serenity. So therefore, when you are serene, that means nothing disturb your mind. So that means you are in total peace with yourself.
That's right.
And what is above that?
That's God, brother.
Oh, but is God. You see, this is where we have to learn to toggle between the two, religion and science.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Brother Eric.
Yes, give me a minute.
Okay, go ahead.
In religion, we say a God. No, first of all, I will start with John. He said, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. And he goes even further to say, and the Word was God. If the Word was God, that means the Word is still God, isn't it? Because God is ever existing.
Mhm.
And later on, when you read Paul, he tells you God is love. So now, if we're using our mathematical theology, we also have to say the God that you think you're looking, that is everywhere, that is love. Where did Jesus say you will find God? God is within.
Kingdom.
Where will you find the kingdom? It is
Kingdom.
still within.
Mhm.
Where is heaven? It is still within. But heaven, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us, is at the feet of women. So I'm not going to elaborate on that part, but when you find love, because the minister tell us love is not an emotion. So now all the thing that we have been looking for is something we call love, but love is not what the world give us as a description. It's something that has to be found in you. And once you can find it in you, when I can find it in me, so now I know I'm entering the doors of heaven. And this is where we are today. Some of us are making a concerted effort to see how we can ascend to that level. And we have to reach the point of clear, because when you are clear, your emotion is put in check. And once you can put the emotion in check, now it allows you to go a little bit above. And that's where the gravitational pull of this world have no more effect on you and on me. And once we get to that 40-mile high, so now we know the only step that is now is to step out of that not only the gravitational pull, but at the same time, we can navigate in the universe.
Excellent. Excellent.
Allahu Akbar. Anyway, I
Also,
think I've said enough. Go ahead, Brother Salam.
yes, also in the Quran, Allah gives us the term 40 representing maturity. Brother
Mhm.
Lukman, what do maturity means in Arabic? If you know off the top of your head.
I don't know offhand. I'd have to pull it up real quick, bro. But I don't know the word offhand off the top of my head.
In the Quran, it talks about 40 represent maturity. Also, the 40th surah of the Holy Quran is called believer.
Yes, sir.
So there's something synonymous with the term maturity, believer, and that number 4 also represent foundation. That 4 also represent preparation. So we have a lot to work with that number 40.
Mhm.
And we also have 40 questions and answers
Mhm.
in our supreme wisdom. So there's a lot dealing with the number 40.
Yes, sir. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. If anyone has the Quran handy, the word maturity is found in Surah. I just try to look up the closest ayat. Let's see. It is in Okay. So the word in Arabic is shadda.
How you spell it?
SHA DA, shadda. And it means the word shadda to become firm, strong, passionate, to be advanced, unbending, unyielding.
That's the minister.
Thank you, Brother Salam, for that
Mhm.
question.
Force, high degree. So when you talk about, so when you find your maturity, that's when you become strong. It's like when they pour concrete, don't they have to wait for the concrete to mature?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that means what? It can't be soft. It's got to be firm, correct?
That's
Mhm.
right.
I remember brother, the brother who go from Ghana, Brother Akbar. I was listening to a lecture he was doing one time. He was talking about half-baked Muslims or half-baked leaders. He said, you know what a half-baked leader is? He said, you know, when a cake is half-baked, it looks done on the outside, but it's soft and mushy on the inside. He said, that's what a
Uncooked.
He said that's what a half-baked leader is. They look good on the outside, but just soft and mushy on the inside.
Wow. That's a good analogy.
Yeah, brother. Yeah, yeah. Sister Anna, you still got your hand up?
Accidentally, not on purpose.
Oh, no, not a problem. Not a problem. Not a problem. Brother Eric, you got your hand up?
Yes, as Brother Salam asked that question, the only thing that came to mind is instruction number 3 to the laborers. I think, if I can go, let me go to my book. 1 second. Here it is. 1, 2, 3. The 4th paragraph on question number 3. It says, but there is more to be understood in the words. That the laborers' pronunciation, look at the word now, the laborers' pronunciation of words and syllables must be in the past, future, and present perfect tense. I will bring to our attention, when we're talking about past, future, present perfect tense, this is conjugation of verbs. But this one is talking about pronunciation of words and syllables. So there is more to be understood, because sometimes we get words that sound familiar, but sometimes the word can be an adjective, it can be an adverb, it also can be a noun and a verb. So now when we're reading the word, what is it in the sentence that we're reading? Is it a verb? Is it a noun? Is it, because some words are tricky, and the minister told us English is a very tricky language.
Mhm.
So if it's tricky, are you letting yourself be tricked by it, by being lazy, slothful? So we have to be paying more attention to words, because in words there is also salvation. Oh man, I got so much I could say, but I don't want to. Otherwise, we'll not be successful. Do you want to be successful? And the work that we are into is a work of what? Communication. How can you communicate when you cannot speak effectively to a people? And in the same thing is this, no teacher. So no, let me see. No man can be successful in teaching a people that cannot speak clearly the people's language. Who cannot speak clearly? The people or the one who's trying to teach? Because how can you teach a people that when you don't know his own language? You will not be successful. This one is talking about Jesus and you come to with Muhammad. This one is talking Bible and you're talking Holy Quran. So you're creating a point of disaster and strife. Even probably you can go with the feast because you are debating. And the minister asked us, he said the messenger told him, do not debate. Because when you debate, there will be a loser or a winner. And what happened to you when you lose a debate? You feel less than you are. So this is the reason why we have to learn, take patience to learn. You're not in it because you want to be known by people or because you want to get applaud. No, you are learning things that can help you stabilize first your life so that you can stabilize your family life. Then you can go to your community and your people. And once we get that, so now we will all be living in peace. And how can you live in peace when there is no harmony between you and your people? Enough said. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. That particular ayat that I had mentioned is ayat number, it's Surah 28, ayat number 14. It says, and when he attained his maturity and became full grown, we granted him wisdom and knowledge, and thus do we reward those who do good to others.
Uh-oh.
And then it says in another location, Surah 46, ayat number 15, it says, and we have enjoined on man the doing of good to his parents. His mother bears him with trouble, and she brings him forth in pain. And the bearing of him and the weaning of him is 30 months, till when he attains his maturity and reaches 40 years. So there's that 48 the brother was talking about. That's Surah 46, verse 15.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, let's land this plane now. So now in Lost Found Muslim lesson number 2, question number 8, said there's some currents that are cold, some are warm, some are swift and changeable. So we looked at the word cold as representing the characteristics that are below 2.0, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what does it mean to be warm? It means to show affection, gratitude, cordiality, or sympathy. So now what tone level is that?
3.20.
Mm-hmm.
3 point starts to go up. So
Anything about
Mr. Shayla? Okay.
let Brother Eric speak.
no, man. I'm zipped. I'm zipped up.
Did you have Sister Shayla? Okay. So here we have some currents. Okay, we look at the word current. So we have, look at it like an equation. We have some moods or flows or ways of thinking that are cold and warm. That means there's some thought processes that are void of human emotion, friendliness, or compassion. And there's some ways of thinking that are affectionate, they have gratitude, and they show sympathy. Does that make sense?
Yes, I think I remember the minister also
Yes.
taught on that. He was talking about the laborers and also some of the officers of the mosque.
And what did he say?
He said there are some of them who are somewhat more patient and more lenient. They're willing to teach before they apply the law. And there are some who are cold. They only want to execute the law and cause people to leave the mosque because of their hardness. And I don't remember the whole lecture, but I know when that's what he was teaching, and that's how it make me understand what we're talking about when we're talking about the current. When you think he's talking about the atmosphere, but he's really talking about us, how cold we can be or cruel we can be to one another. And because everything that we're dealing in this book we call Supreme Wisdom really deal with us, with the people.
Mm-hmm.
They use, Master Farad Muhammad and Muslim Bilal Muhammad use the nature to teach us about ourselves because we also are part of nature.
Mm-hmm.
And if you understand nature, it can help you now to look within to see yourself. what position that you're holding in that nature that you're talking about.
Mhm. Mhm.
I like to
What?
share something.
Go ahead. I want to
Today.
hear this.
When we was at Savior's Day, I looked around at the audience as the minister was talking. And it was so peaceful. He had everybody attention he had the attention to everybody that it appears that his calmness had everybody calm. Because he did say at one time, I'm calm. Didn't he say that? So he was like on a tone scale of 40.
Yes,
Because
sir.
everybody was like glued into him. You couldn't even hear a pin drop. So he delivered a lecture to us, and at times he would come down in different currents, but the majority of his lecture was calm, and he was relaxed as he was teaching us. So we can say that he was on the tone scale of 40.
That's the point,
That's all
because in our lessons, I mean, mostly in the work that we are, it's not always to teach and preach fire and brim,
Yes.
or teaching for applaud, or to make yourself known to others, because you have to appeal to the people's mind.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
once you're appealing to the mind, now they are more serene, and you can see the calm that was in the room, indeed, because
Yes.
people are for the first time taking time with themselves to hear a message that they have not heard from anybody else.
Yes.
Because when you come, okay, now everybody, yeah, you get the applaud, you get the people to rise and scream, but after the scream, they left and they forget everything that was said. But when you take the time to speak to the mind of the people, they have time now to reflect on what is being said, and sometimes they can even go back with themselves to check, let me see what the brother was saying or what the sister was saying. And to the point they will discover something himself, because the lesson give us is Master Farad Mohammed give you what? Lesson number 1 as your first assignment. What is there for me? If it's my first assignment, what is an assignment? It's something that must be carried out. And if I have to carry out an assignment, I have to study it first.
That's right.
And when you study, you learn. And when you learn, now you have to learn to apply what you learn. So now when I look at lesson number 1, it was telling me, hey, don't you know you are a devil? Oh, really? I did not know that. I thought you say I'm part of the original man. And the original man is God. Yes, you are. But you were made to be other than yourself. So if you are other than yourself, that means you are living with the mind of the enemy in you. Why did we cast Jacob and his made devil from the root of civilization? Do you think this is a question that I was talking about in history yesterday? So now if you want to cast out the devil, you have also to cast out the devil in you, because you were made to be other than yourself. That's not my nature. So now let me cast that one out so that I can really accept the nature that God really made me with. All
right.
And what Master Farad Mohammed came to give me back, because you are part of the Asiatic. I look for the word Asia. I wrote it down, but I cannot find it. Asia means something that is, I have to look for it again. I cannot go with supposition, but I want to go with facts. Because when I find the meaning of Asia, I was surprised. Okay, brothers and sisters, we have work to do, but not with others, with self first. And this is the greatest enemy we have, and this is the greatest friend also we have. So let's look with the two.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, so we have cold and warm. Now let's look at swift and changeable.
Uh-oh.
See how this corresponds to the tech. Because the word swift means moving at great speeds, amongst other things. So we're talking about velocity. Velocity is equal to distance over time. Now in self-analysis, one thing that L. Ron Hubbard mentions is that as you basically gain back your attention units, your speed, your reaction time will increase. Does that make sense?
Mm.
And really, when you understand what reaction time really is, reaction time and the speed of thought are synonymous. So he says the reaction time will increase. Our lesson says the average speed of thought is 24 billion miles per second. But it's saying that that's the average rate of speed. Now, interesting thing is, if you take, see if I remember my math, if you take the speed of thought and you square it. Okay, someone pull out a calculator for me. Type in 186,000 miles times 186,000 miles. I think you'll come across the number. It might be 36 billion, I think.
Okay. Are you talking about the speed of light?
The speed of light, the speed of light, excuse me.
Okay.
34 trillion 596
Yeah.
million.
34 trillion?
34.
34?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is it 34 trillion?
Yeah, 34 and point, I mean, not point, 34,596. And you can add all the zeros after that.
Look like pie. It look like pie.
It's
Mm.
3.4596.
That will be,
Oh,
no, that's 34 billion.
yeah, 34 billion. That's what I said.
So you said trillion.
Which number's wrong?
Okay, now, so we have the number, so the speed of light squared, we'll round it up to 30, we'll keep it at 24 billion to make it, because now the speed of light squared is 24 billion. What's the speed of the average thought? 24 billion.
24 billion, yeah.
So that's the average speed of thought. That would imply that as we increase up the tone scale, our thought gets up in the same number where you start dealing with E equals MC squared, because C is the speed of light. So C squared is 35 billion miles per second. E equals MC squared. Y'all are familiar with that formula, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when we look at 35 billion miles per second and the average speed of thought is 34 billion miles per second, is it a possibility? We won't go into this right now, but just something to put in the back of your mind. When we deal with E equals MC squared, are we dealing with the speed of thought? Just something to think about, okay?
Yes.
So some currents are cold and warm. Some currents are swift and changeable. So now,
And Brother Luke,
yes, it's Ania.
that would also coincide with before the blasting away of the moon, that the circumference of the planet was 35.
That's right.
Ooh,
That's right.
35,000.
That's right.
All right now, okay.
Good point.
Thank you for that one. Thank you for that one. The word changeable means to be fickle, to break, to put on different clothes, and to be aberrant. And we know in Dianetics, we have what's called ARC breaks, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So in some of these currents of air, there are some that are cold and some are warm, meaning what? There are some that are low toned and there's some that are high toned.
Mm-hmm.
You have some that are swift, meaning the thoughts traveling fast, and then you have some that's aberrant. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, maybe at another time, we'll go through that whole lesson and see how we can connect it, because you got the rain, the hail, the snow, and then you have the earthquakes. And I remember the minister saying one time when he was talking about meteorology, and I'm paraphrasing it, but he was saying how the study of meteorology is similar to the study of the mind. Okay.
In what way, Brother Lupin?
When you look at if you study meteorology and you look at weather patterns, when you look at how the currents of air, and I'll give you an example. take a person that is warm or good natured and put them in contact with someone who has a nasty attitude. Okay.
Mhm.
What does that cause between those two people?
Friction.
Friction.
Fiction.
What is friction when you're dealing with atmosphere?
Thunderstorms.
You're talking about storms, right? Okay. When a warm front and a cold front hit together, that's the storm front.
Okay.
Tornadoes and everything else.
Right, right. So when you look at what's called high pressure systems and low pressure systems, one system goes clockwise, the other one goes counterclockwise. And if you were to study high pressure systems and lower pressure systems, they will give you the same data and characteristics of the analytical mind and the reactive mind, because you have one area where the air rises up and causes the storm clouds, and you have one where the air drops down and produces clear skies. So when you look at high pressure, when you watch the meteorologist, he says we got a low pressure system over here and a high pressure system over here. Those are demo kits for how the mind operates. Okay. And you can look at those pressure systems and then make them applicable to ourselves. There are certain times when we become a low pressure system, and there's some times when we become a high pressure system. When you have rising air producing storm clouds, if we said rising represents arrogance, okay, our emotions rise, it produces what? Storm clouds, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When we can take all of our emotions and kind of drop them down, now we have clear skies, right? Again, high pressure system, low pressure system. The more we go into meteorology, we can connect all of it to how our mind operates. Does that answer your question?
Okay, yes, sir.
Okay. So a quick summary. Sister Ania, is that you again?
It is. I'll wait till you've done your summary.
Oh, no. Go ahead.
Well, it was just the experience I had traveling back. It dealt with those currents of cold manner in which I had to deal with a particular TSA agent coming through security. And it was a sister, in fact, two sisters, and they just really had nasty attitudes, and I was, I guess, just the target of that particular moment. And so it was they said that I set the machine off, and they had to track me in the private area of my body, back and front. And I'm looking at her, and she's looking quite butch, so I'm thinking, okay, so just maintain calmness, in my attitude. And so I just, whatever she said that she wanted me to do, it's like, okay, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, this, that, and the other. And so she wanted to check my waistband and then those other areas. But I thought, I didn't know that she wanted to pull up my clothes. So I thought, well, I could just stand there. She's doing a body check, in just quick scan over. But then when she started to lift up my jacket, which was to the knee, I said, oh no, we're gonna have to go to do the private room. So now she tried to make that an issue because I changed my mind from doing it in public to private. She tried to make that an issue. And they didn't have the staff members present. So that, was another delay, and she was getting very irritated. And Wahid was waiting in a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
And then it became, so after we got through that part, then they said, well, you have to, plus there's an issue with your bag. So we have to do a check on that. So they they did a test and check on the bag, and it was a food item that I had planned to eat down at the gate. She said I couldn't take it through, and you'd have to throw it away. I said, well, no, I'm not going to throw it away. You know, it cost me quite a bit of money. It's just a fruit salad that I'd made, and I'm going to eat, you know, I plan to eat it. Well, you have to eat it on this side. You can't take it through. I said, okay, I'll eat it. Where do you want me to go? You have to stand over there by the bin, and whatever you don't eat, throw it away. I said, okay. So I stood over there by the big trash bin, and I took my time and ate it, you know.
That's it.
And
Is that called passive aggressiveness?
she was totally teed off with the whole thing. And there was a brother that had witnessed the whole thing, you know, going through security, and he got my attention. He said, I would have done the exact same thing, you know. But just maintaining that level of calmness, with and just how you described cold in the previous thing, the unfriendly attitude and everything. So it was truly a clashing, and she was trying to make the friction be. She wanted me to lose my temper and go off. That was evident. But fortunately, Allah blessed me to stay calm throughout the whole thing. Yes, sir.
So you maintain the warm current.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Praise be to Allah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So here's our quick summary. We went through Surah 26, ayat 77 through 82, and we saw that the enemy that's mentioned when we cleared the term in Arabic, it brought us to the word bypass. And the word bypass, enemy, the Arabic word for enemy is bypass, and bypass brings us to Dianetics, to what's called the demon circuit. And the interesting is it brings us to Dianetics on page 66. And we're talking about 66 representing the 66 trillion years. The word sickness in this ayah brings us to the concept of aberration and dramatization. We looked at the word healing, and the word healing in Arabic brought us to the words restoration, venting, and really venting is a word that describes what we're doing when we're auditing someone. The word healing actually means to clear in Arabic. So the word healing in the Holy Quran means to clear when you do the translation, which is equivalent to the high tone levels. And then the word die is talking about apathy, the low tones, and suppression. Okay. The word life, when we cleared the word in Arabic, is describing all those characteristics that describe going up the tone scale. When we looked at the word mistake in Arabic, it brings us to the concept of aberrations and to the concept that's found in Dianetics called the held down 7. Does that make sense? Okay. And then when we looked at Lost Found Muslim lesson number 2, question number 8, what makes rain, hail, snow, and earthquakes? We saw that as a demo kit that represented different aspects of the analytical and the aberrated thinking. Now, does all of that, did we prove the argument of marrying the supreme wisdom with the supreme technology?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right. Any questions, comments, thoughts, corrections, concerns, cognitions, or suggestions before we close it out?
Can Brother Eric come back to our
To do
next?
what?
Yes, brother.
I don't know what to say. What would you like me to say, dear sister? I might have it. I don't know.
Okay.
Is there something that you specifically have in mind?
You always are on the supreme wisdom, so I'm always, we just come.
No, the supreme wisdom is something that I dedicate myself to study. And the more I study it, I'm not saying that I master it yet, but I find the supreme wisdom is indeed, as the minister says, is a key to both Bible and Holy Quran. If it's a key, so now you remember in our lessons, we also have a 17 million keys. So now, what are those 17 million keys? Oh, okay. Have you found yours yet? I know sometimes we say, oh, we got 17 million. Oh, okay. If you got 17 million, you make sure you don't apply yours into somebody else's lock because it won't work.
Gotcha.
But you have to find yours first. Once you find yours, now you can go. So now if you were to apply that lesson and thinking that you have keys you're going to be applying, how long would it would have taken you to find one key to open at least one person? That is but a Lookman is a mathematician. He can tell you that's a law of probability, isn't it?
What's
So
that?
now, to find the right key for one, you got 17 million. That's probability. What is the other one that it may not be possible at all. So now there is something else is being told. They tell you, okay, first of all, what is a key? Because a key is something that is given to you to open what? A lock. Do we talk about a lock in this in the technology?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So now, and if it has to open a lock, the only one who can really open all the locks is the one who has a master key. Are you yet a master?
No.
You see, the minister is opening a lot of locks. With one little lecture, he can open a lot of locks at the same time because he has the master key. And we are being invited also to tune in so that we can have also a master key where when we go to the people, we can just, with a few words, open their mind. Because the lock is really right here in your mind. And that's why the door of heaven are well guarded. Guarded by what? By your emotion. And the more we can get rid of our own emotion, we have that, it allows us now to see ourselves clearer. You hear the word clearer, to be clear. What does that mean? When I am clear, I know I am not subject to react to all of my emotion. And no matter what people do around me or say to me, I'm not going to react as a Negro. I'm to remain myself. Be yourself. So now when I am myself, it helped me now to deal with people more effectively. And that's the role of a civilized person.
Excellent.
And if you are civilized, you have a duty. What is the duty of a civilized person? Is to teach civilization to uncivilized. So now, if you come with me with your voice, raising your voice on me, and I'm raising mine, does that sound civilized to you?
No, sir.
Okay, so therefore, the more I can keep this one in check, now I know you have a control of the energies that are around you. It's not a matter of using your fists or your techniques or anything like that. Huh? Okay, yes, it is good to know those things, just in case. Have you heard the minister had any fight with anybody from the time he's been with the nation?
No, sir.
Saying all that he said, doing all that he did. So now, if this is the example I'm following, I have to do the same thing to demonstrate the power of the teaching that we get. And we have a double advantage. We got the teaching of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and we got the teaching of L. Ron Hubbard. So now you know electricity, it needs two lines, the negative side and the positive side. And then you are the resistor or the resistance. So now when those two get together, so all it brings is light. So we are in a good time and people are waiting for that moment. So if you want to be successful, apply yourself to the teaching, not just to recite them, not just to say what they are, or to repeat what the ministers say, what the Muslim Elijah Muhammad say, but study is how can I apply it to myself? If I can apply it to myself, I can apply it with any of you that is with me. Because when you are acting up, I know something is there. And if I'm an auditor who understand that, I can straight why you don't even know it. Just make you speak. Because the art of this teaching is communication. And do you know how to communicate? Many of us have problem with that. All it takes is either affinity or reality. I know you already say you don't love me or you don't like me. Okay. That's freedom. You are allowed to not to. But now I want to communicate with you. I have to find a way. I have to go through the door of reality. What is reality? It's a matter of agreement. We have to agree on something. Don't you see when the white people come to you, they don't know you there? Oh, that's a nice day today. Why do they do it like that? What would you say? The sun is out, there is no winds or anything that is blowing dust in your face? You will say, oh yeah, I like it this. Okay, now right there, you're already in agreement. So you open the door for communication. Because reality always brings a point where you can have the affinity. No matter how small it is, you still have the 2 points. And now that creates the third point, communication. So if we are truly in communication, we have to learn to apply the lessons as you should. And once we can do that, when we find the door, we are successful. Does that satisfy you, Sister Sheila?
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Brother Lukman, for the work that you're doing. Thank you, Brother Salam, and all of those who have participated. Sister Anya, I never, you always keep quiet, but I see what you get. Every time you open your mouth, I see a lot of jewel coming out of it.
Praise be to Allah.
Yeah, keep it up. And I should expect that because you are under a great teacher.
Praise be to Allah.
Brother Wahid. All right. Assalamu alaikum, family.
Salam. All right, Sister Sharon.
Yes, sir. Really quick. Happy Savior's Day, everyone.
Happy Savior's Day.
I missed you all. I had the children with me, so we were at the Children's Village having fun.
Mhm.
I just wanted to bear witness to what Brother Eric was saying. And this Savior's Day for me, once we got to Chicago, as soon as I got to the room, it was a trial hit. And I was just like, okay, how do I handle this situation how I used to? Or how do I handle it now that I understand better and know better? So how I would have reacted before, I didn't react this time. And not only was I there with my children, but I was representing Master Fard Muhammad, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and our nation. So some people already have in their minds about the Nation of Islam a negative connotation. They attach it to every last one of us. So I said, how do I handle this situation? And I handled it in the best way possible. I didn't lose my calm, my cool, none of that. And I was asked if I wanted to change rooms. I said no. It's something simple that could be fixed. I'm not dying. I'm safe at this point. I'm not losing anything. So we could deal with the situation accordingly. And then getting downstairs to where the food and the coffee and everything was, you know, some of the service people, I would call them, or some of the staff, you know, they had attitudes already. So what is my job? Brother Eric mentioned it. What is my duty? To be civilized and also show them how to be civilized, and to be able to straight wire somebody without them even knowing it, that they're being straight wired. And I said all that to say, once getting back home, I received several emails from management, and I ended up getting my whole stay for free at the hotel.
Wow.
Because of how
Beautiful.
I represented the minister. And I
Allahu
was,
Akbar.
so, you know, all praises due to Allah. I'm learning and I'm growing that everything doesn't take smoke. Everything doesn't take that, you know, that explosion or that storm. It's get beyond the storm, keep that inside of me, and, you know, just get to the peaceful side and show what refinement is. And, you know, what our teachings represent. So I just wanted to share that. All praises due to Allah. Thank you.
So, Sister Shane, let me throw this towards you and let's see where this goes.
Yes, sir.
Would you say that one of the reasons why we get angry is because we can't get individuals to speak the same dialect as we're speaking?
Absolutely.
So when people don't speak the dialect that we're speaking, do we try to blow up the earth?
Sometimes. I know I used to.
Right.
And even, you know, this morning I went off a little bit on one of my sons. I'm like, you know, just be quiet. And he's looking at me like, you know, lady, what's wrong? But I had something else going on that happened just a few minutes before. And I said, you know what, let me walk away. Because I started to take that out on him. And it's like, girl, go out the door. You know, take your emotions and go somewhere else. So, you know, it's a learning process.
Yes, ma'am. I
Also,
don't know about y'all, but I know I'm not clear. So
Yes, sir.
oui. At the same time, Brother Lookman, that also this demonstration of the defense mechanism, because when somebody is approaching a point where you're not too comfortable with, you have to project a certain attitude, like an atmosphere to burn, whatever is coming to your atmospheric pressure, right? So now, but okay, I know you are asking me a question I cannot answer. Since I was talking about it, and now you're asking me a deeper question that I did not prepare for. And automatically I show you an attitude to say, I don't want to say leave me alone or get lost. And I show that attitude. And that's how it is. So if we understand all these little things, it's so easy to avoid getting in confrontation with anyone. Okay, the person is demonstrating the evil side of him. Our lesson says, just say, Assalamu alaikum, or peace, brother, and walk away. You don't have to go toe to toe.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, family. Any other final comments before we close it out?
Yes, sir. Please give my beautiful sister, your wife, the greetings for me, Brother Lukman. Tell her Happy Savior's Day. I missed her.
Did you get a chance to see all the pictures, Sister Sharon?
I saw some of the pictures, yes, sir. Praise be to Allah.
And I will definitely send the greetings towards in her direction.
Thank you.
All right, family. Any comments, any thoughts, send me an email. Any ideas for future Zoom calls, please send me an email and you know, provide your ideas. As soon as this downloads, I will strive to have this on the YouTube channel sometime today. Let's see. The next time we will meet, God willing, will be on Sunday, March the 5th. Does anyone have a topic they would like to see covered on Sunday?
Let's get into the problem book. Some of the problem book.
Okay. let's see if we can dig into one of the problems and see if we can use it as a demo kit and extract some Dianetics from it.
Good.
We'll see where that takes us. So, with
Brother
that,
Luke,
yes.
may I reach out to you this week on my Dianetic lesson 9, dealing with emotion? I still need some further understanding on some demo kits to get through this lesson.
Yes, ma'am, of course.
Is it better to text or is it better to email?
Either one is fine. I would say, because I don't always check my emails, I would say send me a text.
Okay, will do.
And
Brother Lamar,
yes, sir.
let us also deal with dreams and visions.
Dreams and visions.
A lot of believers are having dreams and visions. And what we need to do is start to note our dreams and visions, because Allah is talking through the believers through their visions and through their dreams.
Brother Salam, with the permission of the believers, because I know we're running late, to the believers, could we stay on for just perhaps maybe 5 minutes or less?
You got it. You got it. I give you a half hour.
Oh no, brother. Brother Salam, if you would, could you share your experience with the believers? The dream and the reality. If you know, you understand what I'm talking about, right?
Yes, sir.
Would you mind sharing that with the believers?
Yes, sir, I will. Just recently at Savior's Day, I went to the home of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. My wife and I went to the home of the Most Honorable Elijah. Describe
the dream first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, do the dream and then yeah.
Okay. Well, I have a dream book. I have many of these books that I've been having for over the last 40 years. I call them dream and vision books. Every time I have a vision or a dream that leave an impression on me, I note it in my book. Back in August, I believe, of 2022, I had a dream. I was walking towards a backyard of a house, and I saw the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. When I saw him, he gave me a warm expression as if he knew me and it was all right for me to approach him. As I approached him, I noticed I was in back of a building, a brick house. And he looked at the brick house as to get my attention to the brick house. And then a man came from behind the gate. He looked like a postal service man. He handed Honorable Elijah Muhammad a package. And when he handed Honorable Elijah Muhammad a package, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad took the package and threw it by the porch. And the man walked away. But before, as the man was coming, I got on post as if to secure the messenger, because I didn't know who this guy was. But the messenger gave me a warm greeting. I said, everything is all right, brother. He's good. And the man gave Honorable Elijah Muhammad a package, and Honorable Elijah just threw it to the side towards the porch. And then the Honorable Elijah Muhammad looked at another building. I looked at the building. I can distinctively see that it was a brick building. And I woke up. When I woke up, I laid there trying to figure out what the dream was all about.
But what did you think about? What did you think about that other building? That's the key.
Oh, to me, I knew that the first building was a brick home, a beautiful brick home. The other building I thought was a theater or a place where people come to do an event, but I didn't know where the building was at. When the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan had our believers meeting, I believe like 2.5 months ago, 3 months ago, there was a sister at the end of the believers meeting. He called. Her name was Sister Sajda Wendy Muhammad. And when I was listening to the minister as he called her up, she was mentioning that she's selling coins, coins of the messenger from the copper that they'd taken out of the home of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad's first home in Chicago, and that she's using those coins to get money to restore his property. When she said that, I said, man, I wonder what home she's talking about. Then she said she had a YouTube video where she described the home that she's restoring. I got on YouTube and I seen the home because she did a walkthrough. I said, oh my God, this is the place I was with the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad in the backyard. last Friday, my wife and I, we went to a tour at the home of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad with Sister Wendy. As she walked us through the house, explaining to us different rooms that the messenger used, where his mother lived at, where his mother was there, and places where he had the money. A lot of things she shared with us on that tour. When she began to mention the building next door, the word she mentioned was he was going to use that building for a theater. I mean, it just like rocked my mind. I said, sister, I got to share something. This is something I never shared with nobody in the public. And I shared with about 20 people that was present on this tour of my vision of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad being with the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad in the yard. And after she took the tour, she said, Brother Salam, you and your wife go out in the back and take a walk. Brothers and sisters, I took a walk back there in the back of the yard. I was mesmerized. I was astonished to see that I was actually in a physical place that I had a dream just about 5 months ago of the messenger, me and him standing in the backyard. And I just want to say to the believers, don't undermine the dreams and vision that God has given us, especially today, because that's how Allah talked to us. We have a lot of hadith of Prophet Muhammad, may Allah be pleased with him, from the believers that was around him, sharing with the Prophet things that they heard, things that they seen in their vision pertaining to his mission. So I believe that that was a divine vision given to me by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Any questions?
Allah.
Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar. And also, since you mentioned it, I see a little bit more to that too. You are being given an assignment, and that assignment is probably to become either to create or to become minister over a mosque in a remote place where they don't have such a facility. Because and this is not given by anybody, by the God himself, Master, not Master Prophet Muhammad, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Yes.
And there is also always a difference between those two, vision and dream.
That's right.
Only people who are sleeping can have dream. But if you are a wide awake man, you can only have vision. And vision is what you carry out to bring about whatever you see in your mind. And as you start, you bring, and other people see your effort. And this is the time you're going to see how people are going to fly towards you to help you bring that reality. You see, Mr. Ford had a vision at one point. He looked at the horse pulling the carriage. And his vision was, one day I want to build something that can do the work of 6 different horses. You know, people mocked him because they did not believe he could do such. And to his vision, he started doing it. And others who probably have similar vision see the need for what he's doing, and they jump and help him. One come with the tire system, and the other one come with the shock absorbers. And the other one see how to navigate. And did it come about? You got the first one, you call it the buggy. Okay, now over time, the buggy transcend to what you call a car wash. Okay, and from there, look at where we are today. The concept is always in the mind. The blueprint is in your mind. Nobody can see it but you. And as you are ready to put it out, this is the time you're going to make it known to the world. And those who have similar vision, that's why the messenger told us to look for people like-minded.
Let this mind in Christ be in you.
So we are being directed, whether we believe it or not. When you think it's your idea, no, don't. That's why you always all praise be to Allah.
That's
Why?
right.
Because it's not from you, it's from Allah. He sends you messages and let me see how you're going to act with it. And some of us are a little bit arrogant sometimes.
Yes.
And we use that arrogance towards others. And with that, we deal with them in a way that they do not agree and they leave. And this is the mind that we needed to bring about what was in your mind. And now you, with that cold current that he fell in, so he leaves.
That's right.
He's
You know,
frozen.
we have in the 12th Surah of the Holy Quran, the father of Joseph, who had a vision of his son. And he told his son, who had a brother named Benjamin, I believe his name was Benjamin, they was from a different mother than the other brothers from a different mother. But he told Joseph, listen, don't share with your other brothers about your vision. So sometimes when we have vision, sometimes we got to hold it until it manifests itself, or we can damage that vision becoming a reality. So when we get divine vision, sometimes we got to hold it until it become a reality. And my experience with this past Savior's Day and being at the home of the Most Muhammad, I felt the reality of my vision became real when I actually walked in his backyard of his home, the first home that he had, and I seen the reality of it. Yes, I believe that I'm connected some way with that home, and Honorable Elijah Muhammad has put me on a mission just based on that vision I had of him. All praise is due to Allah.
The same way when you have a dream, there are certain dreams you don't tell others. Do you know that? What happened to Joseph? He had a dream and he goes and confess, telling his brothers. What did the brothers say? Oh, they dump him in a well. I mean, we would be foolish to think he was a well that he fell in. No, they put him in a position where he could not act. He was like a prisoner. And from there to the prisons that he was in, and he was able to help another prisoner who became prominent, and then that prisoner was the one who lead him towards Pharaoh.
And on another level, when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had his ministers around him when he was teaching, we have to be able to hear God talking through the minister when it comes directly for ourselves. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad had ministers around him talking about a certain particular information he wanted to share, and he would say something about he was really talking to the minister about, I would like for you to place a trumpet on you. You remember that part? We put the trumpet on.
On the left corner.
The minister heard it, nobody else heard it. So sometimes when the messenger or when the minister speak, sometimes it's directly from him to you. And you got to know when to be able to pick that up. Is it, you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes, sir.
All of the ministers sitting around the messenger didn't understand what the messenger was saying to the minister when he told the minister to place a trumpet on the right side of the paper, something like that.
The whole thing is not to let people discourage you in your endeavor.
Definitely.
Because we may end up doing like Jesus, curse the tree. Although we know the tree was not in its due season, because we couldn't find something to eat, we say, and curse the tree and to kill it. But in other words, we will come to a point that I know we heard it before from many, to say, we've been in this for 90 years plus, and what have you done? All of these are cursing the tree. And we too, sometimes among our own group, we curse the tree too sometimes, because we don't understand. Because if you look at a tree out of its season, right now it is winter. When you look at all the trees, you don't see no leaves in them. You might think all of them are dead. And you can end up taking your axe or your chainsaw and knock them down. But when spring starts coming, you see another aspect of the tree you did not see before, the burgeoning of the leaves. And the leaves come out to prepare what you call the shades, right? And this is exactly what it is. When you see people entering Islam in companies, it says, that's a sign of the resurrection.
Mhm.
Now, before you can even produce the fruit that we're supposed to have, you're going to see a lot of people coming in. Each one plays a role
That's right.
because the leaves is there to protect the fruit from the elements, which is the sun, not to get burned.
That's right.
And then once those things are in place, the next thing you start seeing is the flower. And the flower is indicative that something better is going to happen.
Come on.
And once you get the flowers, what do you see next? You see all the pollinators. They are happy because now they're going to find something to suck on. That's the type of meal they take. So they come to pollinate for you. And after that, you get the little life germ you call the fruit. In your mind, it's insignificant because you know you cannot eat that, right? You still can curse it. And until that thing start growing on the tree, and now you start seeing something your eyes are appealing to. Say, oh, when this one get ripe, I want to be the first one to have my hand on it. But while you're looking at it, there are many others also that looking at it who wants it too, including the birds. All right? So now you just pray that on that time, you'll be able to get it. So all of that I'm saying that we are called fruit of Islam. Do not get desperate because you're not producing what you should, because you are not yet in season. Then when the season comes, you will see each one of us producing what we must produce to give life to others.
Come on.
Because the fruit tree give you the fruit, not because he want to feed you. The fruit tree knows that I don't have any displacement. I cannot move. So I'm going to give you something to eat, and then you can throw my seed anywhere you want. Hoping that at least one of the seed can fall in the right environment where it can grow again to reproduce itself. Brother Lukman, what is the first law that you learn in Dianetics?
Survival.
There we go. Everything wants to survive. And survival doesn't mean just me. My race, my family, things of that sort. Survival.
On
Even
all dynamics.
Go ahead. Even the things that you're teaching, you want it to survive so that the next generation also can benefit from it the same way you benefit today. That's what it is all about. And can you defeat this teaching? Absolutely not. The messenger said, all it takes is one. If he can get one who believe, he can reproduce that all over again.
Yes.
That's it. So let's keep the faith. What is faith? Faith is how confident are you in yourself that you can do what you say you can do. That's what faith is about. Yes, I know what the scriptures say. But if you really ask yourself, what does it mean? You will see it mean exactly that. Okay, I see this. I know I can do it. Okay, prove it. You must prove it at no limit of time. And to prove something, that means you have the faith that you can do it. You are confident enough in what you say you believe, in what you say you know. And once you do all of these things, hey, everything is made possible. This is the time you're going to see the godliness in you. You are operating as a God. Allahu Akbar. Oh, Allah save us all. That's a favorite prayer of Minister Abdul Rahman Mohammed. May Allah be pleased with him.
So we got Sister Sharon, Sister Shayla, and now we're 3 hours in, and we gotta land this plane.
In 4 hours.
Everyone is not on vacation. I can
Go
stay all
ahead.
day, but that doesn't mean we all want to stay all day. Sister Sharon, Sister
all right.
Shayla, and then we'll wrap it up.
Oh, yes, sir. Right before Brother Eric started speaking about the trees, you know, the leaves falling off and they look dead. I had picked up my plant. I'm like, Dad, my plant died while we were at Savior's Day. And I was trying to flip the camera, but I don't know how. But I started peeling the leaves off. And under the leaves is another sprout coming up. And you see the red part? And I was just like, wow, Brother Eric started talking about it right after I picked the plant up. So I just wanted to bear witness to the majesty of Allah. And we're like the leaves on the tree. The leaves don't worry about what the other leaves are doing. They just grow when they're supposed to, fall when they're supposed to, and they don't worry about anything else. They're just an existence. They're being. And I'm learning to just be, and whatever I want, just say be to it, and it is. And I've been doing that, and Allah has been showing me, see, look here it is. But when I don't pay attention to the signs, I look past it, I miss it. So I'm learning to tune in and pay attention. So all praise due to Allah. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you.
Allahu Akbar.
All right, Sister Shayla.
I'm just great. I'm just grateful. I can't explain what I'm feeling. I'm up in the cloud. I'm somewhere that I just need to be and stay here because I can do anything right now.
Allahu Akbar.
Anything. Thank you. Thank you, Brother Salam.
Allahu
Thank
Akbar.
you. Thank you, Brother Eric. Thank you. And thank you, Brother Lukman, for providing the platform for us.
This is what Allah wants us to do. We all have our purpose, and I'm trying to multiply my talents, because I don't want the wise man to come back after a far journey and find out I took my talent and buried it.
That's right.
So
that's right.
Brother Salam, would you do us the honors, brother?
Prayer.
Close us out.
Prayer time.
Prayer.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta alaihim. Ghayril maghdubi alaihim waladdallin. Amin. Ashhadu la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasulullah. Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar.
Quite sure y'all.
Family.
With your permission, Brother Lukman, I will send you the link again for the Saturday afternoon
Yes.
Zoom meeting.
Yes, and I gotta put the reminder on my phone. Otherwise, if I don't put a reminder on my phone, I don't remember nothing. I just got 1,001 things going on right now. But yes,
I understand.
I'll send it out. Yes, sir.
Okay, yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Sister Charlotte, you can send me that text whenever you're ready to. We can finish getting through these lessons and getting you completed with your book 1.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, family.
Family.
Walaikum salam. Happy to see you all. See you next time. Saturday, baby.
Okay,
Saturday.
yes. Send us the link.
I will do
Yes.
that. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay, assalamu alaikum.